So it's been a long time since I recorded a story time, but I'm going to continue with the series. So this week I'll be talking about the time that I wore a dress. No, it had nothing to do with Las Vegas, but it'll probably happen someday. No, this one brings me all the way back to high school. It's my senior year. Okay? Get this. I was the only male cheerleader at my school. So it was pretty questionable about my sexuality anyway. Some people may have thought I was gay, others not so much. But they wouldn't say it to my face necessarily because I was somewhat of a weightlifter, and if you can't outlift somebody, for some reason they assume I could have kicked their ass, which no way in hell. I don't know how to karate or anything. I know jiu-jitsu now, but that's not the point. Point is, I didn't know how to fight, and people didn't know that, so I didn't tell them otherwise. But yes, I was the only male cheerleader at my school. And as a joke, the drama department decided to create a male pageant. Right. I know what you're thinking already. Male pageant. Well, of course you wore a dress. No. The principal had a specific rule with this all male pageant that no one could wear a dress because in the previous years, some guys went a little too far, but that was years and years ago. Anyway, the pageant was structured like any female pageant would be. There was a glamour section, a talent section, and then personality questions and so forth. And I rocked it on pretty much everything, especially the modeling. But we'll get to that later. So most of the guys there were forced by their girlfriends to do it or questionably gay, but I'm not judging. The point is, they make us straight guys also look questionably gay, which I guess I'm okay with because it ended up looking hilarious. Like, this pageant was funny as hell. I wish I could show you videos, but I actually don't have any. For the dress rehearsal, they required us to bring our own suit and tie, so all of us brought a suit and tie, and then they threw it on us that we had to learn an opening dance. Most of the guys there weren't dancers, only me and another guy, and the only reason I knew how to dance is because I was a cheerleader and had to critique girls dancing most of my high school days. Sounds awesome. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty awesome. Can't dispute that. Anyway, we learned our opening dance. It was to Justin Timberlake's Suit and Tie and Like a G6 by Far East Movement or something like that. After the modeling portion came the talent portion that we had to rehearse for, and I didn't want my talent portion to be like the school talent show, which happened months earlier. Now, what I did for the talent show, this is also a good story, so I'll go ahead and tell it, is I did a gymnastics act. Like, I did flips, handstand, push-ups, all sorts of strength act, except I did it to Culture Club, Boy George's I'll Tumble For Ya. So it ended up looking pretty funny. I also planted a friend in the audience, and I asked the audience if they had a bottle of ketchup, to show them how strong I was. And so my friend stands up in the middle of the show and is like, "I have that bottle of ketchup you require, sir." And I was like, "Oh, yes, bring it up here." And so then I had my music time so that as soon as I started opening the ketchup bottle, like hard rock music started playing, and I looked like I was struggling with it. After about 15 seconds, I opened the bottle and got a lot of applause and stuff. It was a good moment. Definitely worth talking about on Storytime. But yeah, I didn't want to do the same thing as a talent show for the talent portion of this all-male pageant. No, I wanted to get some bonus points with my girlfriend, so I played her favorite song on the guitar, and all the chicks in the audience ate it up. Like, it was a good moment. I didn't sing or anything. I played a finger style guitar, which means I play the vocal portion on the guitar as well as the bass line. So it sounds pretty cool. I'll give you an example right now. Let me go get the guitar. Oh shit, Cammy took out the guitar. Yeah, I took it out of the case, dusted it off, and now I'm going to show you what fingerstyle playing looks like. This is not a how-to guide. I'm not playing the same song that I played during the talent show because she is an ex-girlfriend now. Therefore, it is more appropriate to play this. It's a little bit out of tune. So as you can imagine, I am not the best singer. Not even close. In fact, I scare small children. But that doesn't mean you can't get girls by playing the guitar, just learn Style. Man, I sounded really Asian, not to offend any Asians. Fingerstyle. Now I sounded German. Okay, well, anyway. The girls in the audience, threw their panties at me and stuff. Not really, I wish, but everyone thought it was well played, and they appreciated me making that gesture to my girlfriend and so forth. And yes, I did get bonus points. Cha-ching. It was nice to see the reaction of the other contestants, though, because they're like, fuck, why didn't I think of that? Because, all their girlfriends forced them to do the show, too. After the talent portion came the modeling portion, my favorite. So I put on a suit and tie and ended up modeling. We had to walk from, one point on the stage to another point on the stage, answer a question, the personality questions, and then walk to another point on the stage, strike a pose at every point on the stage, and then exit. After everyone did the modeling portion and answered their question, we would all line up on the stage and the judges would do their officiating. I don't really remember the question that they asked me in regards to the personality question. All I remember is I answered it semi-cleverly and people liked it. I definitely didn't knock it out of the park like one other contestant, but it was pretty good. So let's fast forward to opening night. Everyone gets in the auditorium. Auditorium is packed, to the brim. I have no idea why everyone wanted to see men dancing, but I'm not going to judge how they spend their time. And for those of you watching the Destiny gameplay in the background, don't you judge my blade dancer either. I'm pretty bad with it right now. That's why I was playing it, so I could, get better when Bungie eventually buffs this blade dancer. Back to the story though. So, opening night was packed. And some of the other contestants were nervous, which I don't blame you. Having the whole school see you do questionably gay things on a stage isn't for the faint of heart. I'm thinking of the right phrase, right? For timid, faint of heart. Not the Yu-Gi-Oh card change of heart, but faint of heart. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with it. You guys can correct me in the comments as usual. So within 10 minutes of the show starting, we all got suited and tied up. Well, hold on. That sounds kinky. We all put on our suit and tie, and we walked out on stage to do our opening dance. And the opening dance went right. I definitely got some cheers in the audience when I had my solo part, my solo record, And then we went into the dressing room to change for our talent portions. So then I did the talent portion, girls threw panties, the usual. And then I went back to go get my suit and tie for the modeling part. Here was the problem though. My suit and tie was locked in the other dressing room, and no one had the key. This was a problem. It goes without saying. I called the stage manager and I was like, look, this door needs to be open. I don't have a suit and tie. I'm going to look like an idiot. And she goes, oh shit, we don't have a key. To which I replied, yeah, good one. All right, so you're going to open the door, right? And she goes, no, I'm serious. We don't have a key. So I had some options here. I could borrow someone else's suit and tie and hope the audience didn't notice. That's not an option for me because I'm 130 pounds and 5'9". I have a hard enough time shopping for suits for myself, let alone borrowing someone's. I would have been sagging my pants and shit. While I'm on this suit and tie tangent, let me tell you about a time in my current college classes for exercise science. A professor wanted us to talk about the obesity epidemic in America, and this is where I got to input some funny answer. She asked, how do we know there's an obesity crisis in America? And she was expecting, some website citation or something, and I just raised my hand and said, because I have trouble purchasing a suit and tie from any designer warehouse. The class laughed along. The professor thought that was a pretty clever answer, but let me reiterate. I don't care if you're a little bit on the heavy side, a little bit on the skinny side. All that I'm saying is if you're 5'9", 120 to 130 pounds, you are fucked when you want to go buy a suit and tie. You will not find one, and if you do, it's going to be absurdly priced for a third of the fabric used to make a normal one. Back to the dilemma at hand. So, the dressing room was locked. I couldn't access my suit. The stage manager asked me if I could borrow someone, and I said no. How about we go look upstairs in the drama closet, which is where they kept all the costumes and stuff for plays, and see what we could come up with. And that's when it hit me. I should wear a dress. The stage manager looked at me and was like, you're not serious, are you? And I said, yeah, I'm serious. I'll definitely wear a dress. I'll look different from the other contestants, I'll piss off the principal, and I'll be a crowd favorite. So, yeah, the dress is a good idea. So she went with it. She's like, all right, I'll find you a dress. And we looked through all the racks of clothes, and I found the most disgusting dress you ever see. It was those Raggedy Ann dolls? That's what the dress looked like. So about 5 guys went ahead of me, and then it was my turn to model. When I stepped on stage, the cheering was deafening. And the best part about that was everyone knew it was me before they even said my name. They're like, oh yeah, only the cheerleader has the balls to do that. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I also had a rose in my mouth. Like, you know how they, what are they called? Matadors? Not this ugly ass shotgun I'm using. I think this, yeah, that is a Matador. I was gonna say it was a party crasher. But no, like the Spanish Matadors, you know how they have a rose in their mouth when they fight bulls and shit? Well, I had a rose in my mouth, and I conveniently let it fall to the floor on the second point of the modeling. So it falls to the floor, and then I bend and snap, and the audience goes crazy. Then, as soon as I snap back up, I start flexing my arms because, you know, weightlifter, and the audience went crazy again. I wanted to do a flip in the dress, but I thought it might be a little bit dangerous, so I ended up just putting one hand on my hips and, you know, shake my money maker like somebody. Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna finish reciting that ludicrous song. After that modeling was done, I answered my personality question, semi-craftily, then I skipped away merrily back into the dressing room. After a couple guys went, we all lined up on the stage to receive our awards. They gave the best in the opening act, the best model, the best answer to a question, the best talent, and the best overall. Now I'm on one of those. I'll have you guess which one. Alright, suspense over. I got the best model because I looked pretty good in a dress. And I didn't have a beard then, so I looked baby-faced as hell. Like, I was a prisoner's wet dream. So another contestant ends up winning Best in Show, and all the rest of the contestants kind of did that Super Smash Brothers end of game clapping, where we're kind of looking at him like, really, dude? Did you have to win it? Why couldn't it be me? It was a joke competition, but I'm pretty sure everyone there still wanted to win. We graciously accept our rewards, and we walk off the stage, you know, to mingle with people. And at this point, I was still wearing a dress, and everyone thought it was fucking hilarious. So they all crowded around me and started to get pictures with me, you know. Hashtag gay cheerleader. Yeah, you remember how I said I got bonus points for playing that song in the talent show? Well, I lost them all at the end there because I got swarmed by all the little freshmen and cheerleaders and stuff all crowding around me. My girlfriend really wanted a picture. She had to spray a metaphorical fire hose of words at them like, get away, you sluts, just to, you know, like, get a picture with me. Let's fast forward to the next day of school. Now, the auditorium was packed, but that doesn't mean every single person at the school saw the talent show. I had the stage manager come up to me the next morning and be like, we talked to the principal, he was a little pissed, but we explained that your suit was locked in the dressing room and that you couldn't get to it, so we improvised. And he is not going to let you get in trouble for that. And I was like, thank God I couldn't get in trouble because I was a cheerleader and my coach would have been pissed, especially to find out that I couldn't make a game because I decided to wear a dress at some all-male gay talent show. So the entire day, random people, just came up to me and were like, CammyCakes, that shit was crazy. Can't believe you wore a dress, and so forth. With much more emphasis than that. Like, I'm downplaying this. They were loud. Teachers came up to me and were like, I heard what you did. Trying to be all snide and stuff. And I was like, you did? I looked pretty good in a thong, didn't I? Or something. And they're like, what? I heard it was a dress. And I was like, yeah, it was a dress. I was just pulling your leg. The best part of the day was getting to cheerleading practice, where all the girls were dumbfounded that I had an ability to dance, but was just choosing not to. They thought I was a terrible dancer, so that's why I chose not to dance. When in reality, I'm a pretty badass dancer. I just think it looks kind of feminine, and that's not a good image to have if you're the only guy on the team. Again, not to say there's anything wrong with gay people, that's just not me, and I would rather not mess up my chances with other girls because they automatically dismiss me as gay. Again, I don't want to attract guys, I want to attract girls. If I attract both, no problem, but I'm only going to swing for one. So, moral of the story for those of you still listening. Be a little bit risky. I'm not saying break laws or something, just be out of your comfort zone. And a dress wasn't necessarily out of my comfort zone, but being in trouble was. I didn't want to get in trouble with the principal, but I went ahead and used the dress anyway. Because, here's the bottom line. At my 10-year reunion, people are going to say, CammyCakes! Remember when you wore that dress at the gay talent show or whatever? And I'm going to be like, yes, that was hilarious, wasn't it? So again, it's not going to hurt you to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. You know that cute girl at work or wherever you go to school? Yeah, you should probably ask her out. Don't put it off another week. And no, I don't want to hear in the comments, she broke my heart because you told me to ask her out. You're never going to know if you don't do it. So be happy regardless how it turns out. There's other fish in the sea. That's not what I'm saying. The point is, if you want to take a tap dancing class but are worried about what people think, just do it anyway. Do what makes you happy. Go out of your comfort zone a little bit, take some risks, and so forth. I want there to be a moral to my story times. Another thing you should do to step out of your comfort zone, use some fun weapons in Iron Banner. I know right here I'm using the most try-hard shit, but that's because I'm playing with actual competent players. Now in Iron Banner, I run into scrubs all the time. When you run into scrubs, that gives you the okay to pull out fun weapons, you know, legendary scout rifles, legendary hand cannons, Plan C, the Fourth Horseman. I'm not asking you to pull out the Vostok like I do every now and then, but have some fucking variety. Okay, let's just pause for a second to appreciate that stellar voice acting. Yeah, that guy got destroyed more than my eardrums the first time I heard
Psylocke, the Defiled!
Well, that brings my story to an end. So in other news, I just hit 15,000. That's 15 times 1,000 subscribers, which is a pretty big deal for a small YouTuber. I didn't think I'd get that far. Hell, that's 14,000 more subscribers than I thought I would ever have. But enough of that. I figured this is the perfect place to announce a Q&A. Question and answer. That's where you write a question in the comments and I'll answer it in a future video. The reason that I'm not making a new video to announce the Q&A and instead announcing it here, because if you're with me at 17 minutes of a random story video of my life, that shows me that you care a lot to listen to my stupid little stories, even if they are entertaining to you in some degree. You would care enough to ask a question about my life and appreciate an answer. I will try my best to answer anything. I don't want to give away too much personal info, not that I don't want to run into you guys later, but I might end up wanting to be a teacher at some point in my life, and I don't want a principal looking at some Q&A video from 5 years ago going, Cammy, why are you talking about your dick size in a video? So basically what I'm saying is have some courtesy, censor your questions a little bit. I will try to answer almost anything, but there is going to be some kind of limit. Well, that concludes this video entirely. If you liked what you saw, heard, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, maybe even comment on your favorite part. There's going to be a lot of questions down there, so try not to let them get lost in the flood. I'm going to go ahead and also leave the rest of this Rumble footage, because if for some reason you run into me and you want to utterly destroy me, study this. Find out my weakness, and then use it to conquer me. Okay, I need some coffee. I'll see you guys later. I'm Cammy, and I'm out.
One final push and victory is yours. shown your might, Guardian. Well fought.